OMG. Third party is begging you, don't watch this. But your soulmate's secret is about to be exposed. My beloved child, there is a reason the third party does not want you to hear what is about to be revealed. Something has shifted behind the scenes, and the truth they believed would remain hidden is beginning to surface. Don't skip, because the most surprising part is not what the third party did, it is what your soulmate finally realized because of it. For a long time, your soulmate tried to ignore a feeling they could never fully explain. They distracted themselves, questioned their own heart, and listened to voices telling them that moving away from you would make everything easier. But something unexpected happened. The further they tried to move emotionally, the clearer your importance became. Your absence started answering questions your presence never had to answer. Suddenly, memories of you began returning differently, the conversations, the smallest moments, the things you said that once seemed ordinary. Your soulmate began recognizing something they had overlooked. With you, they never needed to pretend. And that realization changed the entire situation. The third party noticed it too. They saw the difference in your soulmate's energy whenever your name appeared, whenever someone mentioned something connected to you, whenever a memory unexpectedly brought you back into the room. That is why, symbolically, the message feels like the third party is saying, don't watch this. Because once you understand what your soulmate has finally admitted to themselves, the entire story looks different. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is one secret your soulmate has kept beneath everything else, and it explains why they could never completely close the door on you. Here is where everything takes an unexpected turn. Your soulmate recently reached a private realization that the third party never expected them to reach. The connection they were trying so hard to replace was never actually replaced. They may have changed routines. They may have acted distant. They may have convinced other people that they were perfectly comfortable with how everything unfolded. Yet somewhere beneath those appearances, one question kept returning: why does this person still matter to me? And every time they searched for an answer, they came back to you. Don't skip. The secret about to be exposed is deeper than simple missing or remembering. Your soulmate has been comparing how they feel around others with how they once felt around you, and the comparison has been impossible to ignore. With certain people, they feel like they must explain themselves constantly. With you, there was a strange sense of being understood before every sentence was finished. With others, they can create moments. With you, even ordinary moments became memories. That difference has been quietly growing inside them. The third party sensed this before your soulmate ever said it aloud. They began noticing the pauses, the distant expressions, the sudden silence when your name entered a conversation. But the biggest surprise came when your soulmate stopped defending their choices and started questioning them. That was the moment everything changed. Because once someone begins questioning the path they chose, they also begin remembering the path they left behind. Stay till the end, because what your soulmate remembered about you is exactly what the third party hoped they would forget. Something huge is waiting for you, and this is where the hidden truth begins opening. Your soulmate has finally understood that you were never simply another chapter they could close and forget. You became a reference point inside their heart, a standard they unknowingly carried into every connection afterward. They remembered how naturally you understood certain parts of them. They remembered moments when you noticed what everyone else missed. And then came the realization that shook their entire perspective. Perhaps the reason they could never completely move forward was not because they were trapped in the past, but because something between you remained emotionally unfinished. Don't skip, because there is another layer they have not revealed yet. Your soulmate has been thinking about what they would say if they suddenly had one completely honest conversation with you, no outside opinions, no interference, no pretending, just truth. And the first thing they imagine saying is not an excuse. It is an admission. They would tell you that there were moments when they wanted to reach toward you but stopped themselves. They would tell you that they questioned whether you had already forgotten them. And most importantly, they would admit that the third party never truly erased what they felt for you. That is the secret beginning to surface. But there is still one detail your soulmate has kept completely private, something connected to a recent moment. When they finally realized what they actually want. Stay till the end, because when that detail comes forward, it changes the meaning of everything that happened between you. There is one detail your soulmate has been keeping completely private, and this is where everything becomes far more surprising. Recently, something small happened that brought you back into their thoughts with incredible clarity. It could have been a familiar phrase, a song, a place, or simply a quiet moment when there was nobody around to distract them. But instead of pushing the memory away like before, your soulmate allowed themselves to feel it. And suddenly they understood something they had been avoiding for far too long: what they felt with you was never ordinary. Don't skip, because the third party noticed the change almost immediately. Your soulmate became quieter, more reflective, and less interested in pretending that everything was exactly how they wanted it. The third party could sense that something invisible had shifted, but they could not understand why. What they did not know was that your soulmate had begun replaying one specific memory involving you, and that memory opened a question they could no longer silence: what if I walked away from the person who understood me best? Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because once that question entered their mind, they started looking at every decision differently. Things they once defended suddenly seemed uncertain. Reasons they once accepted suddenly felt incomplete. And for the first time, your soulmate stopped asking how to forget you and started wondering whether they were ever supposed to. But the biggest revelation came afterward. Your soulmate began realizing that some of the things they believed about your connection were influenced by outside voices more than they wanted to admit. Not everything they heard was necessarily true, and not every assumption they made came directly from you. That realization hit differently because suddenly they remembered moments when their own heart was telling them one thing while someone around them was suggesting another. Don't skip. This is exactly why the third party would never want this truth exposed. Your soulmate is beginning to trust their own memories again. They remember your patience. They remember the way certain conversations with you stayed in their mind long after they ended. They remember how naturally they could imagine telling you things they struggled to explain to anyone else. And now they are asking themselves why they allowed outside confusion to become louder than their own experience with you. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is one thought they keep returning to: if they could go back to one important moment between you, they would respond differently. They would listen longer. They would ask more questions. They would not allow assumptions to finish a conversation that honesty might have saved. And this is where the third party begins losing influence, not because of anything dramatic, but because your soulmate is finally thinking independently. Once someone begins seeing the difference between what they were told and what they personally experienced, the entire story can change. And now comes the secret that makes everything before this feel like preparation. Your soulmate has imagined seeing you again. Not once, but repeatedly. They have wondered what your expression would be, whether you would still recognize the person behind all their silence, and whether the connection would still carry that familiar feeling. But beneath all those questions is something even stronger. They have imagined finally telling you the truth. Stay till the end, because what they want to admit is bigger than simply saying they missed you. They want you to know that distance taught them something closeness never could. Losing access to your energy made them understand its value. Trying to create the same emotional comfort elsewhere made them recognize how rare it actually was. And the third party can sense that realization becoming stronger. That is why the energy around this situation feels different now. Your soulmate is no longer simply remembering you, they are reconsidering you. Don't skip, because there is still something they have not fully admitted even to themselves. A decision is quietly forming beneath all these thoughts, and it involves whether they should finally stop hiding behind silence and allow you to hear their side directly. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next realization is the one the third party never expected. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that if they keep waiting, you may eventually become completely unavailable to the chapter they still secretly want to reopen. Something changed the moment your soulmate realized that waiting could eventually mean losing the opportunity to ever explain themselves to you. Until now, they could hide behind the comforting idea that there would always be another day, another chance, another perfect moment when everything would somehow become easier. But recently, that belief began disappearing. Don't skip, because this is where the secret becomes impossible for them to ignore. Your soulmate started imagining a future where you had completely moved forward, where you no longer wondered about them, where hearing their name created no emotional reaction inside you at all. And strangely, that possibility revealed more than anything else could. They realized they were not comfortable becoming simply a distant memory in your story. They wanted to matter to you because, quietly, you still mattered to them. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The third party never expected your soulmate to reach this point because silence once seemed like the easiest way to keep everything under control. But silence has started working against them. Every unanswered question is becoming louder. Every memory they tried to place behind them is returning with a different meaning. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that avoiding the truth never removed the connection, it only delayed the conversation they secretly knew needed to happen, and then came the realization that changed their entire view of the third party. Your soulmate began comparing what they were told about you with what they personally remembered about you, and certain pieces simply did not match. That difference became impossible to overlook. Don't skip. They started remembering situations they had once interpreted through somebody else's perspective. Now they are revisiting those same moments with their own eyes, and the story suddenly looks different. They are asking themselves why they accepted assumptions instead of coming directly to you. Why did they allow another person's interpretation to become more powerful than an honest conversation? Why did they believe distance would provide answers when the real answers were waiting inside communication? Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has reached one conclusion the third party never wanted them to reach. If they want the truth about you, they need to hear it from you. That thought alone changes everything. The third party can influence an assumption, but they cannot control what happens when two people finally speak honestly. And your soulmate knows this now. Deep inside, they are imagining what would happen if there were no outside voices between you, no interpretations, no second-hand stories, no pressure, just two people finally saying what they actually felt. Stay till the end, because there is one question your soulmate desperately wants answered, and it has been growing stronger every time you cross their mind. That question is simple, but its answer could change everything. Did you ever feel what I felt too? Your soulmate has been carrying that question beneath every memory, every hesitation, and every moment of silence. They wonder whether you noticed their hidden feelings. They wonder whether you understood why they sometimes pulled away when the connection became emotionally powerful. And most of all, they wonder whether there is still something left between you that deserves one honest chance to be understood. Don't skip, because the secret being exposed is no longer only about what happened in the past. It is about what your soulmate may choose next. They have begun imagining reaching out without allowing anyone else to influence what they say. They want the conversation to belong only to you and them. No third party deciding what something means. No assumption speaking louder than truth. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has reached the edge of a decision they once believed they would never make. And beneath that decision is an even deeper truth. There is something specific the third party said about you that your soulmate no longer believes. Once your soulmate discovers what actually happened, they may finally understand why your connection became complicated in the first place, and that revelation could completely rewrite everything they thought they knew. Now the hidden piece is beginning to surface, and it is the one detail your soulmate never thought they would question. For a long time, they carried a certain belief about you because it seemed easier than reopening everything and searching for the truth themselves. But recently, something stopped making sense. A memory returned. A conversation suddenly sounded different in their mind. Something the third party had suggested about your intentions no longer matched the person your soulmate actually remembered. Don't skip, because this is where the entire story starts turning around. Your soulmate began asking themselves, what if I misunderstood them? That single question opened everything. They started replaying old moments and noticing details they had overlooked, times when your actions showed care even when words were complicated. Times when you remained genuine even when circumstances were confusing. Times when your soulmate felt something real but allowed doubt to speak louder. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has finally realized that the strongest memories they have of you do not match the version of you they were encouraged to believe. And once that contradiction became visible, they could no longer pretend it did not exist. But there is another layer, and this one has your soulmate thinking more deeply than ever. They are beginning to recognize that the third party may have been speaking from their own perspective, their own fears, or their own interpretation rather than from the full truth of what existed between you. Don't skip. Your soulmate is no longer accepting every outside opinion automatically. Instead, they are returning to what they personally experienced with you, the way you listened, the way certain moments felt effortless, the strange familiarity that seemed impossible to manufacture. And suddenly, the question is no longer, why should I forget this person? It has become, why did I ever let someone else define what this person meant to me? Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate knows they cannot change yesterday, but they are realizing they can decide what happens from this moment forward. They can continue living with unanswered questions, or they can finally seek clarity for themselves. And the possibility of choosing clarity is becoming stronger every day. The third party can feel that shift. They can sense that your soulmate is thinking differently, asking different questions, and refusing to simply accept old explanations. Stay till the end, because one final memory has become the turning point, and it involves something you once said that your soulmate finally understands now. Your soulmate remembers words from you that seemed ordinary at the time, but those words carry completely different meaning now. You may have tried to explain yourself, asked them to trust what they personally knew about you, or simply shown through your actions that what existed between you deserved honesty. Back then, your soulmate was surrounded by too much confusion to fully understand. Now, in the quiet, the meaning is becoming clear. Don't skip, because this realization has created a new thought inside them. They want to hear your version directly. They no longer want second-hand explanations. They no longer want assumptions. They want to know what you actually felt, what you actually meant, and whether the connection they still remember was as meaningful to you as it was to them. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because beneath all these questions your soulmate has formed one private intention. If an opportunity appears to speak with you honestly, they do not want to run from it again. And there is something even the third party does not know yet. Your soulmate has already imagined the first words they would say to you. Those words reveal exactly what they regret most, and once they are finally spoken, the silence between you could take on an entirely different meaning. The first words your soulmate has imagined saying to you are not what anyone around them would expect. I should have listened to my own heart before I listened to everyone else. That sentence has been quietly forming inside them because they are finally seeing the past from a completely different angle. Don't skip, because what comes next is the part the third party never expected to surface. Your soulmate remembers the moments when something inside them questioned the story they were hearing about you. There were little inconsistencies, little feelings they could not explain, moments when their personal experience with you seemed completely different from what they were being encouraged to believe. Yet instead of following that inner question, they stepped backward. Now they understand why the connection never felt completely finished. There were too many things left unsaid. Too many questions were answered by assumptions instead of conversations. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has started realizing that the closure they thought they had was never true closure at all. It was simply distance, and distance can silence a conversation, but it cannot automatically answer the questions left behind. That realization has made your soulmate curious about something they once tried not to think about. What would you tell them if they finally gave you the opportunity to speak without interruption, judgment, or outside influence? But there is an even bigger secret beneath that curiosity. Your soulmate is not only wondering what you would say, they are preparing themselves for what they need to admit. Don't skip, they know an honest conversation cannot begin with pretending nothing happened. Oh, they would have to acknowledge their hesitation, their confusion, and the moments when they allowed other voices to become louder than their own understanding of you. And that is exactly why the third party would rather this conversation never happen. Because once your soulmate hears your perspective directly, old assumptions may lose their power completely. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate has been mentally rehearsing that moment, wondering whether you would listen, whether you would believe their sincerity, whether you would give them enough time to explain what happened inside them. But one realization keeps pushing through every uncertainty: they would rather discover the truth than spend years wondering what could have happened if they had simply asked. Stay till the end, because this is no longer only about memories. Your soulmate is beginning to think about action. They have imagined opening a conversation in the simplest possible way, not with a dramatic declaration, but with one honest question: can we finally talk about what really happened? And behind that question would be everything they have kept hidden. Then something even more surprising enters the picture. Your soulmate has begun to understand why the third party became so uncomfortable whenever your connection seemed emotionally close. It was not necessarily because the third party knew some mysterious secret about you. It may have been because they could see something your soulmate was still trying to deny. The connection affected them deeply. Don't skip, because your soulmate is finally recognizing that difference. They remember how easily your presence could change their mood, how one conversation with you could remain in their thoughts for hours, and how even after distance appeared, certain memories refused to disappear. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has reached a realization they can no longer hide from themselves. Whatever happens next, they do not want another person deciding the meaning of your connection. They want to decide for themselves. They want truth from the source. And most importantly, they want to understand why their heart kept returning to you even when their circumstances were telling them to move in another direction. But there is still one final secret beneath all of this, something your soulmate discovered about the third party's involvement that made them question everything. And once that detail comes fully into the light, your soulmate may finally understand that the story they accepted was missing the most important piece. Your side of it. The missing piece has finally become impossible for your soulmate to ignore, because they are beginning to realize that the third party never truly knew everything happening inside your connection. They knew fragments. They saw moments from the outside. They formed interpretations. But they were never inside those private conversations, those meaningful pauses, those moments when you and your soulmate understood something without needing anyone else to explain it. Don't skip, because this realization changes the entire picture. Your soulmate has started separating what they personally experienced from what they later heard about you, and the difference is becoming clearer. They remember how certain assumptions appeared only after other voices entered the situation. Before that, there was something natural between you, something they did not need to constantly question. Now they are wondering whether they gave too much power to people who could only see the surface. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has reached a point where they no longer want anyone translating your intentions for them. If you meant something, they want to hear it from you. If you felt something, they want you to tell them yourself. And if they misunderstood something important, they want the opportunity to finally understand it correctly. Then came the thought that completely changed the emotional direction of everything: what if they were waiting for me to understand? Your soulmate had never allowed themselves to seriously consider that possibility before. Don't skip. Suddenly, they started remembering moments when you seemed to leave the door open for honesty, moments when perhaps you were hoping they would ask one more question instead of walking away with an assumption. Your soulmate now sees those memories differently. They are beginning to understand that silence can look like indifference from one side while actually hiding uncertainty on the other. Something huge is waiting for you, because this realization made them question their own silence too. How many times did they want to speak but choose not to? How many times did they think about you but assume you would not care? How many opportunities disappeared simply because both sides were waiting for the other